There is a moment that happens in almost every confrontation. A moment most people are terrified of. The moment right after something is said and nobody responds. That gap, that empty space, most people cannot survive it. They rush to fill it with words, with explanations, with apologies they don't even mean. But the rare few who can sit inside that silence without flinching, they walk away from every single confrontation, holding all the power. This is Law 3. And once you understand it, you will never look at silence the same way again. Silence makes people deeply uncomfortable. This is not an accident. It is biology. The human brain is wired for connection, for feedback, for response. When silence enters a conversation, the brain interprets it as a threat, a disconnection, a danger, and so the instinct kicks in immediately. Fill it. Say something. Anything. Make the discomfort stop. This single instinct, this inability to sit in silence, is one of the most exploitable weaknesses a person can have, and almost everyone has it. Watch what happens in any negotiation, any interrogation, any difficult conversation. The person who speaks first after a pause usually loses ground, not because their words were wrong, but because the act of speaking first reveals anxiety. It reveals a need to resolve the tension, and the person who can simply wait, who can let the silence stretch on for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds without discomfort, that person controls the entire exchange without saying a single word. Skilled interrogators have known this for decades. They are trained to ask a question and then say absolutely nothing, no matter how long the silence lasts. Most subjects can't tolerate the gap. They begin talking just to escape the discomfort. They offer information that was never asked for. They explain things that didn't need explaining. The silence itself becomes the most effective tool in the entire interrogation. Not aggression, not pressure, just the unbearable weight of empty space. The ancient Spartans practiced something called laconic speech. They were famous throughout the ancient world for saying as little as possible. When Philip II of Macedon threatened Sparta with a message that read, "If I enter Laconia, I will raze Sparta to the ground," the Spartan response was a single word: if. That one word carried more weight than an entire page of threats could have. Philip never invaded. The Spartans understood something most people still don't. Words are cheap. Restraint is expensive, and expensive things carry more value. Most people think silence is only a social skill. It isn't. Silence is a financial advantage. The person who cannot tolerate silence cannot negotiate. They over-explain in salary discussions. They reveal too much in business deals. They rush into investments because waiting feels uncomfortable. The people who build wealth understand something different. Patience creates leverage, and leverage creates money. Now imagine this. A man is publicly accused of something in front of his colleagues. The accusation is loud, dramatic, designed to provoke. Everyone in the room turns to him, waiting for his reaction. He could defend himself immediately. He could explain, deny, argue his case point by point. Instead, he says nothing. He simply looks at the person who accused him, holds the gaze for a long, uncomfortable moment, and then turns his attention elsewhere, as if the accusation were beneath a response. The room shifts. The accuser who expected a fight now feels the full weight of unanswered silence pressing back on him. He starts talking again, trying to fill the gap his accusation created, repeating himself, adding details that weren't necessary, sounding less certain with every word. By the time the moment passes, nobody remembers the accusation. Everyone remembers who looked weaker. This is the mechanism behind silence's power. It does not defend. It does not argue. It simply refuses to participate in the chaos someone else is trying to create. And in refusing to participate, it forces the other person to confront the full weight of their own words, alone, with no resistance to blame and nothing else to focus on. There is a deeper layer to this as well. Silence creates the illusion of depth. When someone speaks constantly, their thoughts are immediately visible, immediately available for judgment. But when someone says little, The mind naturally assumes there is more beneath the surface. Mystery breeds respect, not because mystery is inherently powerful, but because the human mind cannot stand an information vacuum. It fills the gap with assumption, and most people will assume strength before they assume weakness, especially from someone who carries themselves with calm composure. So how do you build this skill? 3 principles. Write these down. First, the 5-second rule. After someone says something designed to provoke you, count 5 seconds in your mind before responding at all. Most provocations are designed for instant reaction. The moment you remove instant reaction from the equation, the entire dynamic shifts in your favor. 5 seconds feels like an eternity to the person waiting for your response. Use that eternity. Second, let the question hang. When someone asks you something you don't want to answer immediately, you are not obligated to fill the silence. A pause before answering, even a long one, communicates control. It tells the room you are thinking, not reacting. People trust the person who pauses before speaking far more than the person who answers instantly, even if the instant answer is correct. Third, exit before the explanation. When you have made a decision or taken a position, resist the urge to justify it further once you have stated it once. Every additional explanation after the first one signals insecurity. State your position, then stop talking. Let the silence after your words do the convincing, not more words trying to convince. The world is full of noise. Everyone is talking, defending, explaining, justifying. In a world this loud, silence becomes rare, and anything rare becomes valuable. The person who can sit comfortably inside an uncomfortable silence is not weak. They are operating from a level of control that most people will never develop because most people never learn to tolerate the discomfort that silence demands. The person who masters silence gains something most people never experience: influence without force, respect without begging, and leverage without speaking. Because in business, in relationships, and in power, the one who reacts first usually loses. The one who stays still usually wins. The next law drops soon. Until then, stay dangerous.